welcome to Quilt Addicts Anonymous. I'm Stephanie Soebbing. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make the Stripping in Paradise pattern that's available at quiltaddictsanonymous.com. This pattern started out as a fabric exchange, and it was so popular that I decided to make my own curated jelly roll. So what I did was I went through about 1,000 fabrics at Majestic Boutiques that's available there, and I picked out all of the fabrics that are going to be in this jelly roll to go in a nice little ombre rainbow. So we start with our oranges and yellows and go all the way up to our blues and purples at the end. And it really makes a really fun look when it's all together. And that way you can get the look of an exchange quilt without actually having to be part of an exchange. You can still have no one of these fabrics repeat ever, so you're going to have 37 different fabrics including the background if you get the kit, or you could use a jelly roll and some yardage as well and just get the pattern for Stripping in Paradise. So I'm going to show you how to make this today, and it is so simple. So what you're going to do is you're just going to unroll your jelly roll, and you're just going to start pulling fabrics off in the order that they appear, and you're going to put them together in that order. So, for example, these three all were the first three in my jelly roll. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take my first two fabrics and I'm going to lay them right sides together. Then I'm going to bring them over to my sewing machine, and whenever I'm strip piecing, I always like to sew with a scant 1/4 inch stitch. That isn't because you have to do that to make the math work. That's because I sometimes get a little off when I'm sewing such a long line, and this helps me stay a little bit steadier when I'm sewing. So I'm just lining these up with the edges together. You really don't have to pin this or anything. You just have to line them up. And we're just going to strip piece these, hence this Stripping in Paradise, because they're made with boutiques, which are made in paradise. So what I like to do is I like to get started with the first couple stitches, and then I kind of line it up as far as the bed of my sewing machine will go. So in this case I have about 5 inches or so that are lined up. And then I can just sew, keeping the edge of my strip piece unit right together. So now it's time to line this up again. So I'm just lifting up my top piece and then lining it up with the strip that's beneath it. And then I just keep sewing. And you can do this all the way down the length of your strips. So I've just finished sewing my first two pieces off of that jelly roll together. So now I'm going to open this up, and you can see that I have my first piece and my second piece. I could press this open at this point, but I'm going to wait until I have my entire strip piece unit together, because we're just doing 3 across. So now I'm taking my third piece, and now I'm going to lay this right sides together with my second piece, and I'm going to put that through the sewing machine, strip piecing as well. Alright, so I've got my third piece on my second, and there really is no pinning involved in this quilt until you're putting it all together. You can really get away with skipping the pins until you have your completed blocks and you're putting the quilt top together. So it goes really fast because you really just don't have to do a lot of the precision work that's involved with more traditional piecing methods. So I'm just going to sew all the way down this, and then we'll come back together. So I finished sewing, and I find that with this pattern, it's a lot easier to press your seams open than to press them to one side. It helps everything stay nice and square so you don't have any wonky strip piecing. If you've ever done that before, you know that sometimes they can kind of bend and curve on you. This way they really don't do that if you press your seams open, because there's less chance of the fabric being manipulated during the ironing process, because you're really just pressing it kind of flat. So if I were on a regular ironing board, I would press all the way down one side, then I would press the other side, or the other seam, and then when I'm all done, I like to, when I'm pressing seams open, just flip them over and give them a good press from the right side as well, just to make sure they're good and flat and there aren't any pleats in there. So go ahead and press open your strip set, going all the way down, and then we'll come back for the next step. So I've got everything pressed open, and now I am taking my 6.5-inch ruler, and I'm getting everything lined up so that I have a nice, in this case, dotted line along with those seam lines so that I can cut this open. And you're going to want to cut this into a series of 6.5-inch squares. So I already cut off my edge there because we don't want our selvages. Get that back lined up again. And that's it. You're just going to go right down the line, cutting off 6.5-inch squares. If it's a little off, that's okay. Whether it's a little larger or a little skinnier, it's still going to work out in the next step because we are going to be sewing this together into a half square triangle and doing some trimming. So I was a little skinny on the first one. I'm a little right on here. I might get a little fat later on. It's all going to be fine and it will all work out just perfectly. So go ahead and keep on cutting until you've got all your 6.5-inch squares cut. So now it's time to turn this into a half square triangle with our neutral black. And I've drawn a line down the center from point to point here. It may be a little tough to see because it's white on black there. And this is really critical that you have your strips going horizontal to you, so they're running parallel with your body. And then I'm laying my line down so that it's going from the top left corner to the bottom right corner. If you flip that, say you sew it going this way on the next one, then your half square triangles are not going to look the same and it's going to look funny when you lay it out. Probably to the untrained eye, it won't be a big deal, so it's not like you've ruined the quilt, but you want to make sure, and this is in the assembly diagram and the instructions as well, that your drawn line is going from your top left corner to your bottom right corner every time. Now if you wanted, you could pin for this. It certainly is not necessary. I've just got everything lined up here, and I'm going to sew again a scant 1/4 inch seam down either side of that line that we drew. Now we're back to the cutting board, and I'm actually going to cut this apart on the line that we drew. You may want to get a little bit bigger ruler for this, or you can just slide it up like I'm doing here. So now, when we open these up, we're going to see mirror image half square triangles. So in this one, our third fabric is quite long and it's short on this one. It's going to be the same for the center fabric. And then we have a long piece of our first fabric and a small piece over here. Now I've got to press these open, and for this one I am going to press the seam so that it is underneath the black side of the half square triangle so that we don't get any shadowing on some of these lighter fabrics. I'll put that to the side, and we'll do the same thing for the other half. That's the mirror image. Now I've got to trim these up to 6 inches square. And if you find that all of yours are a little small, that's fine. Just cut them all down to like 5 3/4 instead. This really is a very forgiving project. All the blocks are the same size. So as long as you trim them all to the same size, your quilt will still go together just fine. So what I'm doing is I'm lining up my 45-degree line along that piece line there. And I'm making sure that my 6-inch mark is either right on the fabric or, in this case, it extends past. So now I'm going to trim my side and my top. Flip that around. This time, my 6-inch mark is right on the lines that we just cut. My 45-degree line is still going along that fold where the pieces go together. Trim the side and the top again. And now I have a perfect 6-inch piece half square triangle. And it's going to be the mirror image of this one. And that's it. That's all that it takes to get your block together for this quilt. So I've already done all of my half square triangles for the rest of the jelly roll as well. I really love how it just has this ombre rainbow effect. What you want to do now is make sure you refer to your layout diagram and arrange all the blocks in the order that you want them. I recommend clearing a space on your floor, a bed, or a design wall and just laying it out and playing with them until you feel like you've got it the way you want, and then walk away for an hour or two and then come back, and if you still like it, then snap a photo and mark whatever rows you need to mark and then sew those together. It really is very easy from here on out. You're just sewing a bunch of blocks together and it is pretty simple. This quilt goes together really fast. Thanks so much for following along. I hope you will check out the kit for the Stripping in Paradise quilt. There also is a pattern available if you want to pull from your stash or just pick up a jelly roll. Thanks so much for following along. Happy quilting!